Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Pitt Game Day pregame football. So I'm Mason Spesky here, your host. As you could tell, we are in the car right now, and we are actually heading down to the Backyard Brawl in West Virginia for the game. That's the game we're going to be previewing today. I hope you're all ready for it. Today, the Pitt Panthers head down south to Morgantown, West Virginia to take on the West Virginia Mountaineers in the 106th edition of the Backyard Brawl rivalry. Both teams are coming into this game 1-1. Pitt last week, as we all know, lost to Cincinnati 27-21 at Puskar Stadium. The week before, they beat FCS Wofford 45-7. WVU is the same exact thing. WVU beat FCS Duquesne, I think it was 56-17 last week at home. The game was delayed for a while because of lightning and all that, but WVU came back and WVU pulled out the win after the delay. The week before, they lost 38-15 in Happy Valley against the Penn State Nittany Lions. That was an interesting game for sure, and this one will be an interesting game for a lot of reasons, as both teams are 1-1. The rules for bowl eligibility are you have to win 6 games to be considered bowl eligible. The winner today will be in really good shape to be possibly bowl eligible at 2-1. The loser will have some work to do at 1-2. However, all hope is not lost for the loser, because if you look at it this way, I know this is like comparing apples and oranges, but look at it this way. The South Carolina Gamecocks, that's going to be my example today, the team from the SEC, the South Carolina Gamecocks. They're 1-1 because they lost to North Carolina in the Duke's Mayo Bowl Classic in Charlotte the first week. Then they came back last week at South Carolina's home stadium, I forget what it's called, and they beat Furman. And this week, they go down south to play their arch rival, the Georgia Bulldogs, in Georgia. That's almost certain to be a loss for South Carolina, as they are 27.5-point underdogs. So here's the deal. South Carolina is more than likely going to fall today to 1-2. They're probably still going to make a bowl game. Although it's not going to be a big-time bowl game, it's probably not going to be the best of bowl games. They are still most likely going to qualify for a bowl game, and they will be 1-2 after today in all likelihood. The loser of this edition of the Backyard Brawl will also be 1-2 after today's game. However, for WVU, that involves a much tougher path than, say, South Carolina to be bowl eligible, because they have games coming up against Texas Tech. They have to go down to face the national championship runner-up TCU Horned Frogs. They have a trip to Baylor at the end of the year. They host Cincinnati, BYU. They still have to play at Kansas. I don't know if they played. No, they might not actually play big. I don't know WVU's schedule. Sorry about that, but I think their last game of the year is against Baylor on the road. But for sure, the fact of the matter is, this is a much tougher West Virginia schedule. They have a much tougher ride based off of how good the Big 12 is than Pitt does. So hopefully Pitt can pull this one out today, because a win for Pitt would be huge for them, because Pitt doesn't have the easiest schedule coming up either. Next week we have Carolina at home. Then we go down to Blacksburg to take on the Virginia Tech Hokies. And then we come home for Louisville. And then it gets tight because we have at Wake Forest, at Notre Dame, Florida State, and then our schedule levels out a bit with a trip to Syracuse. Boston College at home, who might stun Florida State. Who knows if they will. And then a trip to Duke. So it's going to be a crazy season. Things are going to get dicey. Bottom line is this. Pitt needs a win tonight. These two schools hate each other. This is going to be a very even game. These two teams, I think, are very even for sure. It'll be very interesting, to say the least. This game also is going to be personal and mean a lot to the West Virginia Mountaineers head coach, Neil Brown. As I've said in prior videos, I believe, obviously, as we all know, Neil Brown is on the hot seat right now with WVU. He has not really produced a good football team as of late. WVU was 5-7 last year. WVU is projected to finish dead last in the Big 12 Conference for this season as well. I don't know if WVU will finish dead last, but the fact of the matter is Neil Brown's job is on the line. And I think if Neil Brown is able to rally his troops together to to defeat the Pitt Panthers today, then even if WVU does not make a bowl game this year and still finishes with a 5-7 record, it might be just enough because of this win over Pitt to keep him alive for his job and keep him the head coach of West Virginia football going into 2024. If Neil Brown loses this game today, WVU falls to 1-2, and then they have a year like a 3-9, 4-8, or even a 5-7. I would be shocked if Neil Brown is retained as the head coach of the WVU football team for 2024. I think Neil Brown's job may just well, in fact, come down to today. In fact, if WVU loses today, it would not be a surprise if West Virginia fired him in the next 48 hours. But this is huge, I think, for his job. Now on to something Neil Brown, the head coach of WVU football, said yesterday. I listened to 93.7 The Fan, our Pittsburgh flagship radio station, where the Pitt football games are on. It's a sports channel. And Neil Brown was being interviewed when I was driving yesterday, and I had it on. Neil Brown said that this is going to be a totally different Pitt team that comes out this week, and they're going to be more feistier and more hungrier, and that Pitt doesn't play bad 2 weeks in a row. I hope he's right, because this WVU fan base will be fired up. They're going to be super excited. This is their first backyard brawl in Morgantown since 2011. They showed up well last year when the game was at Acrisure Stadium, which was a narrow Pitt win. Sorry to burp. This is going to be such an interesting game. It's going to come down to the wire, and now it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for, and that's my unfortunate score prediction. As I was saying, this game's going to be really tight. It's going to come down to the wire. It's going to be tied 28-28 with 5 seconds left. WVU is going to get the chance to kick like a 45-yard field goal. It's going to go through the uprights, and the West Virginia Mountaineers are going to narrowly win this game. My prediction, West Virginia 31, Pitt 28. It is so hard to go against the home team in this one. I always, from the onset of the season when the schedules came out and my prediction, the website I used to do my predictions, playoffpredictors.com, loaded, I automatically checked this win for WVU just because of the home environment, the home crowd and all that. I think Pitt may have the better team. Pitt probably does have the better team than WVU, but Pitt was at home last week and they had the better team than Cincinnati. Cincinnati just played the better game. This one, is all likelihood, is going to come down to who plays the better game. I think the crowd will have a large impact on that, and that's why I'm going with WVU in this one. I really hope I'm wrong, but we'll have to see. Anyway, that's all for this. I'll see you tonight on the Pitt Game Day Live post-game show. Immediately following the game, I will try to do a video from the game for the channel as well. Have a good one. Take care. Stay safe. Peace. Enjoy the game tonight, and hail to Pitt.